Hello, welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast. My name is William Hemsworth. Thank you so much for joining me for today's program. Well, today we continue on in Matthew chapter 20. We're going to conclude the parable of the laborers in the vineyard. So we're going to look at Matthew chapter 20, verses 10 through 16 today. And those verses say, "Now when the first came, they thought they would receive more, but each of them also received a denarius. And on receiving it, they grumbled at the householder, saying, 'These last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat.' But he replied to one of them, 'Friend, I'm doing you no wrong. Do you not agree with me? Did you not agree with me for a denarius? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give to this last as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or do you begrudge my generosity? So the last will be first, and the first last.'" So here we see the conclusion of the parable of the laborers in the vineyard. And so in yesterday's verses, we see that those hired at the 11th hour, 5 p.m., were also given 1 denarius. And in today's verses, we see everyone else, those who were hired at the throughout the day, going all the way back to 6 a.m., also received a denarius. But that is what they agreed. That's the wage they agreed on. And so they thought they would get more because they had been working longer. But the householder, the steward, says, "No, we agreed on a denarius. I'm not cheating you. I'm showing my generosity to those, but I am showing my generosity to those who came literally at the 11th hour." You see, so this has real-world implications for us, because oftentimes I hear Christians, almost in a fit of jealousy, get upset at the prospect that God will grant salvation to someone who comes to them on their deathbed, even though they have been working in the vineyard, so to speak, as this parable says, for several years, maybe several decades. You see, we're trying to get that concept of heaven, we're trying to rationalize it into our own understanding, when we need to understand that God is infinite. His ways are not our ways. So whether we have worked in the vineyard for decades, or if someone comes along just for a moment, you see, there's only one heaven. It is the promise that he gives to his children. So we need not begrudge one another for that. Now, this is also a metaphor. Obviously, what the main interpretation, if you will, is that those who have come in at the 11th hour are the Gentiles, and those who were hired, from 6 a.m. throughout the day, were the people of Israel, going all the way back through salvation history, throughout the whole Old Testament. They've had the covenants. This is the different periods of salvation history. And then here's Jesus establishing the new covenant that is for all people, including the Gentiles. So Jesus is for everyone. We all come to him at different times. Instead of being jealous that maybe someone came to him on their deathbed, we need to rejoice that they came to him at all. Because there's many people out there perishing that have never heard the truth about who Christ is. And as laborers in the vineyard, you and I have an obligation to spread that message in some way. Now, we're all called to different things. We all have different spiritual gifts, different things that we're called to. Some may be called to teach. Some may be called to preach. Some may be called to be a pastor, a priest, a missionary, whatever the case is. Regardless, we all have a job. No matter how insignificant that is. I mean, it could be cleaning the church on the weekend. It could be washing and pressing the vestments. It could be making copies for Sunday school, whatever the case is. There's no job insignificant, and if you're doing any of that, thank you, because you're precious. You are a fellow laborer in the vineyard. God bless you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Daily Bible Podcast. Please visit my website at williamhemsworth.com for other articles, resources, podcasts that are there for you. God bless you. Have a great day. We'll catch you tomorrow.